so welcome. For those of you, I think I know everybody, but for those of you that don't know me, I'm Trisha Berry. I'm a chemical engineer. I'm also a parent. We all are Wonder Women. I've got my Wonder Woman version of our background on today. And I am thrilled to have all of you here. Since there's not a crazy number of us, why don't we go around and introduce ourselves, because I want to make sure that you all get to know who's here, and maybe also share, you know, where you work, and then your kids situation or parenting situation, as the case may be. And I can start that I have a college freshman who is studying chemical engineering. So I got one chemical engineer, he's at Texas Tech. And then I have a high school junior who is here upstairs in his game man cave now. And they are both boys. So they're the counter to all my girl work. So I'll go through my boxes. How about that to make it work? So Karen, do you want to kick us off?
Hi, everybody. I'm Karen Glenn, and I'm a civil engineer, and I graduated from UT in 1984. I have 3 children. My oldest is 30, and she's married, and I have 2 great little grandkids, and that's really been fun and new for us. My middle child just got married this summer. We had a COVID wedding after quarantining in New Jersey for 2 weeks before the wedding. So that was an interesting time for us too. And then my youngest just graduated from college. So I actually work for a city. I work for the city of Bunker Hill Village. It's a small city in the Houston area. And I've been here almost 8 years, but before that, I've been in municipal work for quite a while, starting as a civil engineer through that program. And so I was with the city of Sugar Land, city of Austin when I was in Austin, and then actually did some work with TxDOT and a consulting firm as well. So, but it's been a great journey.
Awesome. Thank you, Karen. Isha, let me come to you and your Colorado background.
As you can see, I'm fond of nature, but I'm in Dallas, Texas. I'm at Texas Instruments, and currently I am working with universities to create products. So some of the robotic stuff that you already have at UT, and I work with your faculty quite a bit. But I've been in TI for about 23 years. I have a master's in EE from Texas A&M, so I'm an Aggie. But I have an undergraduate in biomedical engineering from University of Bombay. I have done various roles here at TI, starting with very technical roles, designing chips, and even running profit and loss and businesses inside TI. So I got a variety of experiences. And I will start with saying that it certainly takes a village to raise a child. And we'll elaborate on that when I get my time. But again, I have 2 sons. I always wanted a daughter, but I got sons. It was almost like, this moment of like, could you not give me a girl, you know? But anyways, they're good boys. One is 13 and one is 17. One is college bound, so he might be at UT fall or A&M, see who succeeds. My husband's Longhorn. So, but yeah, you know, raising kids, and you said, you know, the challenges that we have to deal with, definitely feels like there is a, you know, phase of your career or your time in where you are at your job, and the time and place when they are born and where they are. So definitely interesting. And I can definitely share some fun stories, including pumping breast milk in a plane, you know, covered with the blankets, because I had to go all the way to Israel and fly for 20 hours.
We will get to that. Terry, what about you?
Hey everyone, I am Terry Seppardini, and I am a chemical engineer, graduate from UT, and a long time ago. And let's see, I started out working in the environmental field, worked for a state agency for a while, and then got into consulting. Eventually, well, it didn't take me long, but to realize I didn't like that arena, but it took me a long time to get out of it. I finally was able to, about 20 years or so in, and I switched to real engineering, which was what I call it. I got into process design, building plants, and then more recently into project engineering. And then in the course of that time, I also became a coach. So I am the engineer's coach. I have a website with it is called that, theengineerscoach.com. I am the mother of 4 kids. My oldest is, I believe if I remember right, 33. You lose track after a while. And my youngest is 25. I have 3 girls and 1 boy. And then none of them became engineers, and only one of them is a UT graduate. So, I missed out on a few things, but yeah, I'm looking forward to talking about this because it is a chat. I mean, there's interesting things that come along when you're trying to, do your work and raise kids. But yeah, it's a good thing though. It's good.
Thanks, Terry.
And
Lane.
by the way, sorry.
Ah.
Hi, everyone. So I'm actually in Massachusetts, and so I'm so excited that we're doing this virtually because I can actually attend. But I graduated from UT in 2002 with my bachelor's degree, and then I moved on to graduate school. So I have a PhD from the University of Wisconsin. And then I moved out here to Massachusetts to work for AbbVie. So I don't know how many of you have heard of AbbVie, but we're a pharmaceutical company. So we used to be called Abbott, if that name rings a bell with anyone. But the pharmaceutical business spun off and started its own unit, essentially its own company called AbbVie. So I worked there. I started there as a bench scientist, actually. So with my PhD, was really interested in doing process development for biologic therapeutics. And so I started there at the bench, running reactors. I've evolved my career over time. So now I actually manage a team that is responsible for manufacturing external to our company. So we do internal manufacturing for our products, but we also send quite a few products out externally. And so my team manages those relationships with our third-party manufacturers. And so just about myself, I actually used to work in the Women in Engineering program. So that's why it's so much fun to see Trisha again, because I haven't seen her in so long. But as a student, when I was at UT, I worked in the office. Family situation, so I actually have 2 very young children. My son is 4 and my daughter is 2. So all this talk about the breast milk is very familiar because it wasn't that long ago. But yeah, I'm here to learn too about the challenges as they get older. I'm sure there's plenty there, but yeah, excited to have the conversation and answer questions that you might have.
Awesome. Well, from one ex-WEP assistant to a current one, Pauline.
Sure. I'm a 4th-year environmental engineering major, and I'm going to graduate in December, so I still have a little time, and that comes in handy because I'm unsure about graduate school or going into industry. And I currently don't have any kids, and I'm also not super pro having kids for me personally, but maybe this will change my mind. So I'm excited to hear about y'all's experiences for sure.
Awesome. Thanks, Pauline. Juliet.
Hello, I'm a 4th-year chemical engineering student graduating this May. Closest thing I have to kids is my dog, who kept shoving his head in the screen.
Good start.
Yeah, that's about it for me.
Thank you. Angela.
Hi, I'm Angela Bose. I work for NASA. I'm an aerospace engineer. I got my master's degree from UT in 2001, so a long time ago now. And from there, I had worked at NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory, and now I'm at NASA Langley. Most of my career, I've done mission design work or trajectory work, so like orbit trajectory or interplanetary trajectory or entry trajectory for missions that go to other planets. So that's been kind of cool. And I have 2 kids, both girls. They are just turned 8, just turned 11. If you hear them in the background, I think they're arguing, so I apologize. And I think it's awesome that you guys are, doing this, and hopefully we won't scare anybody off from having kids. It took me a long time to jump off the cliff to do that myself. So, but thank you for having us.
Awesome. Allison.
Hi, I have a bachelor's in chemical engineering and then master's and PhD in materials engineering. most of my career was spent in the semiconductor manufacturing industry. And now I'm more in the business side of engineering at Dell. And I have 2 kids, a boy and a girl, ages 5 and 7.
Awesome. Thanks, Allison. Carmen.
Hi, everyone. Sorry I was late. I guess we're doing introductions. I'm Carmen Montano. I work for Chevron. I graduated UT Chemie in 2000. And I guess I started out as a process engineer, but now I'm a project professional. So doing project management on various different facilities projects in Chevron. And I have lived and worked overseas. I did have a 10-year career before having my child. So I have now a 9-year-old daughter. And then I'm also divorced. So I am a single working parent. So I can share a little bit about, being a single parent. And then also that I am a full-time parent to my daughter, kind of like as an only parent, because her dad does live overseas. And then I guess worth mentioning, Aisha, you mentioned it takes a village to raise a child, and it certainly does. And that I really felt that way when I was living and working overseas, and with my daughter, I had to rely on a support network when I was living in Kuwait. So, yeah.
Thanks,
Look forward
Carmen.
to sharing more.
Caitlin.
Hello. So I just got my bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering in December at UTEP, and this is my first semester at UT Austin. I joined the PhD program for material science, and I started school later than everyone else. So I actually have 2 elementary age kids right now, and I'm very excited to hear what y'all have to say.
Awesome. Thanks, Caitlin. Maroya.
Hello, everyone. How are you?
Good.
Great. I presently live in Atlanta. I'm originally from Rhode Island, and I am not an engineering major. I actually work for Work Done Charities, and we were searching for a staff engagement because the number one demographic that we serve for our charity are single parents. So when I reached out to Trisha, I wanted to clarify, the topic of the webinar. And although it didn't fit our organization's mission, it still was very interesting. So I decided to join. So thank you, everyone.
Glad you are here. Thanks,
Thanks.
Maroya.
You're welcome.
Elise.
Hi, I am a second-year biomedical engineering student, and I'm considering doing medical school. And one of the things that scares me about medical school is like if I were to have children during that time or maybe during residency, because I think that would be really difficult. I understand that it can be done, but just those are kind of the things I'm thinking about.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for sharing. So I feel like we've got a lot that we can talk about. So I actually am going to throw everybody into breakout rooms. And what I actually did, I will end up with probably 1 student and 3, 1 or 2 students and 3 professionals in every one. But I think we're all going to learn from each other. So I'm gonna open up the breakout rooms, and I loved what somebody said. I wrote some of what y'all were talking about. That it really does take a village. It takes a lot of different people to get those kids raised and out the door at some time. And then I just wanted to make a few other comments before we go into the breakout rooms. What works for one may not work for another. I think that's something that we learn a lot along the way. What's available to one person may not be available to another. Every situation is definitely unique, and every situation can change 1,000 times as we go through this. nannies and daycare and work from home, all things are different now as well than they were a year ago. So just keep all that in mind in the conversations, because we definitely understand that we have lots of different situations. But I'm going to throw you to breakout rooms to talk about what it's really like. I a couple other questions I was going to throw out to y'all. Is there such thing as balance? Where do you find support? You talked about the village. What does that really mean? So I'm gonna throw you all into breakout rooms and give you all maybe 10 or so minutes in those breakout rooms, and then we'll come back together and share maybe some of the high points from that and answer some more questions that we may have, because the 45 minutes will go fast. But I think breakout rooms will let more conversation happen. All right, who wants to share? What was something you talked about that you feel like the other groups should hear?
I would say I got good advice about you have to think about, because I like to keep different parts of my life separate, but you really have to consider, like, when you're looking at your personal life and like someone you could have kids with, you need to consider how their career would work with having kids as well as yours, and have those conversations, which was something that I think I knew in the back of my mind, but I do like to kind of keep things separate usually.
You definitely, I'm gonna throw something on this one, because this came up a lot when I was raising my kids. You got to decide ahead of time how you're going to work these things that are going to happen, where you've got something planned and then one or the other of you has to work that you weren't expecting. You understand what I mean? Does one person do they always get to be the one who, their work preempts whatever it is that you're doing? Or are you going to swap off? Or, what are you going to do? So you need to talk about it ahead of time. And that will also help you determine, if you're looking at somebody to marry, you want to find out what their attitudes are about stuff like that. And that will help you make a better decision too. Because you want somebody who's going to be not expecting that they get their way all the time, that their work is the one that's going to be the priority. Because if you're working, yours needs to be at times too. But you will have to figure out a way how you're going to compromise when those things happen, because it does.
Talking about it ahead of time, something that's interesting too is some of it, you might negotiate some of this stuff ahead of time, and then when you actually get into it, it plays out differently because you each have different strengths. And, so something I kind of realized is, depending on what the doctor's appointment is, if I send my husband, I might not get the information that I really want. So it's not that he isn't willing to go and take, be 50-50 with me on that kind of stuff. It's that maybe I need to be the person there, or he and I need to talk differently, about what I expect, or things like that. So some of it you kind of negotiate differently as you realize you're kind of, different people and expect different things as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll also add to that is your choice of employer. Make sure they understand that, they don't frown on some of these practices where you have to block your calendar and have a doctor's appointment, or you want to go see your son or daughter perform, something in school. So I think that if you work in an environment that supports it, the companies that support it, I would look at the top companies that are conducive to this family, where they allow people to be flexible. I think it's key for women, because when I was pregnant with my first, my boss was very cooperative. He said, you can work from home. And I actually worked till the end, but he was very, very, he saw me bloat up, and I was like, if you need to work from home, it's okay. I know this is getting tiring. And also when I returned back, they were ready to even offer me part-time if I wanted to consider for a few months, which was no, I'm okay. But I think you need to work for an employer that appreciates that there is work and that there's family, and women are not very effective if their families are not supported, like appointments and anything that comes up in day-to-day life.
Mm-hmm.
I want to echo that. I have had not great experiences. And what I want to tell the students is that every company says that they value family and that they value, every company is going to say that. What you want to do is talk to other moms or look at what they're doing. Look at the people that have done it before and did it hurt their career because they took a maternity leave. So don't just listen to what the company says.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good point. And it's always good when you're looking for a job and making sure that's the right fit, that you try to talk to some of the people who work there, and get an idea of what it's really like. Yeah, because you may not get the straight answers when you're in the interview situations.
Thing is, people, what it looks like, it varies for different people. You know, at NASA, I felt like I saw a lot of women, you know, you have a lot of high achieving people. And so I saw a lot of women that seemed to do parenting in a way, I guess, that wasn't consistent with how I wanted to parent. And so I struggled with that idea of, this isn't who I want to be. And I don't have, you know, I felt a little unsupported, even though in general, the environment is not unsupportive there. And so I just had to work up the courage to kind of say, this is what I want this balance to look like for me, and to articulate that to my managers. And I found once I did that, you know, I had a plan and I told them that. They're very accepting of it, but it doesn't necessarily look like what other people are doing.
Yeah, that's true. And you don't have to be like others, right? I mean, this is you, this is your life, and success is very relative, right? Success means not just means that you have the highest position in the company. It's also how successful you are with your children and other things that are part of your life. So I realized that after I turned 40, by the way, so you will still think that that's the way to go. But then in retrospect, you kind of have to see what success looks for each of you and do a job that you really enjoy, so you don't feel like it's a job.
Students, what else do you want to know? You've got all of these amazing women with all this wealth of experience. What else do you want to hear from them?
I asked this in my breakout room, but I was wondering, after maternity leave, like, how did you deal with like missing out on information and missing out on stuff that was happening while going on at work, while you were on maternity leave? How did you deal with that when coming back?
I worked at 3 different places with all 3 of my kids. And one of them, I actually interviewed when I was pregnant with my daughter. So I came back to a new job, which was interesting. And I was like, I don't know why they're going to hire me, because, you know, I'm going on a 2-month maternity leave, but they did. So I came back to a new job on that one. But then on the other 2, I somewhat kept connected with some of the friends there. And even like my boss with my 3rd child, he kept me connected a little bit. And especially now with technology and stuff, that helped a little bit. But coming back, I was very welcomed back in all of the situations. And I did have a good group, like the other lady said, of people who supported the working moms in the community, in the organization. And that helped a whole lot.
I built it up a lot in my head, but in the end, it's only 8 or 12 weeks out of a 30-year career. And so
exactly,
just think of it that way.
Yeah. You can catch up real quick.
Yeah.
And yeah, I would recommend that take your FMLA. Don't feel like you have to jump off to work in 8 weeks and you're not ready for it. I think even 12 weeks is less, because other countries in Europe and Canada have 6 months and 1 year maternity paid leave. So you don't have to jump, because again, somebody said that it's just your few weeks of or a few months of 30-year career that you're going to have. And one of the things I did when I had my first child was to even ask the boss for transition plans, like what am I supposed to accomplish before I leave for maternity? Like, who needs to be updated? And then when I come back, what am I going to be working on? Believe me, because we are engineers, right? We don't leave everything to chance. So things can change, but we want to know. And I think somebody mentioned that technology is such that you might, I could respond after a week or 2 weeks of delivering my baby, because I just felt restless, but you don't have to do that.
Yeah, I completely tuned out. So I did not do that. That maternity leave, I was gone. I didn't answer emails. I didn't communicate. But I almost liken it to starting a new job, right? When you're day one, it's learning everything, except when you're coming back from maternity leave, you already have, you know, a base understanding. It's just catching up. So it happens pretty quickly. I wouldn't worry too much about it.
There's something I should have said.
Oh, Allison, you want to go ahead first, or?
I've been talking a lot. Please go ahead.
I was going to say, you don't have to take your maternity leave all at once. You know, you're guaranteed that leave, and so you can stretch it out. So with my first one, I mean, like Elaine, I completely took off 10 weeks, didn't talk to anybody or anything, and then I came back and I worked just 5 hours a week for 2 weeks, and then like 10 hours a week, and so I really built up how I came back very slowly, and that felt good. You know, it delays how you can kind of do that from home a little bit if you have a flexible employer, or you can be creative. Maybe your spouse can take, or your partner can take, you know, some paternity leave and cover things, you know, so you can delay having your child in daycare, all sorts of things. And just your mental health is really nice to kind of ease back in instead of jumping back in, or at least it was for me.
Yeah, I did the same, where I came back part-time and then worked up to full-time, just using up maternity leave. So
You want to try to delay coming back at least until that baby's sleeping through the night.
What if they never
I'd
did?
never be
Mine
back.
never did. Mine never did that.
We're
always-
my second, not my first.
I always laugh. I told my husband one night, he goes, wow, she slept all night. And I went, well, somebody slept all night. I don't know. I think it was her.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and I think when we had the babies too, I think we used to take turns, because I was the cow because I was milking, and my husband was the diaper changer in the night. So here you go. You know, so, and we both work, so it was kind of understandable that we are not going to get sleep. And then weekends come, we would take turns. You know.
And then they get older and they become high schoolers, and you don't get
That's
sleep
right.
again.
There
So
you
the sleep is kind of just gone. It's just gone. I'm sorry, Elaine, and those of you with younger kids. I mean, just sorry, it doesn't come back.
Yeah, I've heard that. It's you tell the young parents it'll get better, but it doesn't.
Just different.
But they're worth it. That's the thing. They are worth it. Whatever you do, it's worth it.
Yeah, I think in spite of the challenges, you know, they do give you a perspective of softness, because we are hardcore women in the sense that we live in a hard world and we have to work hard on, you know, going to the next step. So the kids kind of balance you out with their smiles, and it just makes the world better, you know, when you come and see their smiling faces and wipe their noses. So, yep.
Yeah, it is.
Well, I know we are past time, so I want to make sure we get questions. Yes, go, Shruti.
Yeah, I was wondering if any of you felt like you had to work harder to prove yourself, like when you were pregnant or after you came back from maternity leave, or like, did you have some kind of struggle along those lines, just mentally, or did anyone make you feel because of the work environment, and how did you deal with that? Is my question clear?
Yeah.
So Shruti, I would say that build your brand early on. What I mean by that is that people should know that you are their go-to person, whether you have a specialization or you have certain skills. And I think that, you know, you're talking about working hard. Again, I feel like building the brand helps, because your bosses know your capabilities. So they know when you come back, you're going to be full force because you did that before. And if you do feel like there is 75% of you, because you do have other responsibilities, you will still become very efficient, because when you are alone, you had plenty of time. When you have a kid, you're going to have less time. So you will do things efficiently. And that's actually a woman's role. I mean, that's what they do. We do things efficiently. Because we want to make sure we satisfy our work and our homes.
I guess I don't have a solution, but I want to say that, yes, I absolutely did feel that way. And I think sometimes people might not think of you for a certain project or promotion. If you've just come back from maternity leave, they'll think, oh, well, she'd rather have, you know, time with her family. This isn't the right time right now. And that's not true. Like, I want I want to be on that project. And so I guess I would say be vocal, decide what you want. That may not be how you feel, and then just be vocal about that. But I did feel the way you're describing. I was kind of self-conscious about that.
I'd say I didn't feel that way, but I also made it clear that I was going to take responsibility, right? It wasn't that I needed time with my family. I mean, of course you do, right? You do want to spend time with your family, but coming back to work, I made it very clear that I was all in. And of course I did that phased approach with my second, right? Where I came back a few days a week and then built up to full time. So, but I came back and said, no, I'm, prepared to take responsibility for all my old programs and then any new responsibilities. So just like Allison said, vocalizing what your intent is.
And I like Trisha's comment there, don't assume. Let that be known. So I totally agree.
Yeah, I mean, those biases are everywhere, right? And so we have to catch ourselves as well, not placing those biases and assumptions and stereotypes on other women and assuming that they're going through the same thing we did, or that, that we're not having a conversation with them directly to understand.
And I think it's also okay if you change your mind a little bit and say, okay, I really need to step back a little bit for my family right now. And I think that sometimes we think everything's right now, and there's really a lot of time to this career, and there's time for both. And you really can balance it with, like they talked about, the village or a good spouse, but don't feel overwhelmed that you have to do everything right away. Because I think I did. I wanted to do everything right away, but now I'm like, oh, wow, there was more time that I could have. I finally learned that a little bit, and I did step back for a little while and went through something with my daughter who needed me more, but then I was able to jump right back in,
Sometimes a lateral move is good. Sometimes staying put is good. I mean, that's part of why I've stayed where I have for as long as I have. I had kids when Elaine was there. I had my first one when I joined the Women in Engineering program in 2001. Having the flexibility of being in this job on campus and the ability to do all the things that I'm able to do with them and with my work, I don't think I can get that anywhere else. So until they're off and grown, I'm like, this is a great space to be. And has it limited what, upward career growth, pay? Yeah, I'm at a university, but it was a choice I made because of the flexibility that I got. And so sometimes we have to figure out what that looks like.
I think it's always about priorities. And I think at the end of our lives, we're not going to be as concerned about not making as much money as we might have, as we would be about the relationship we have with our family and with our kids. So in my mind, that's a higher priority. So I completely agree with what you say, Karen. There is a lot more years, for most of us, there's a lot more years to working than it is to raising our kids.
Yep.
So, you have plenty of time. And for me, anything that I might have lost or missed by taking the time with my kids was more than made up by the rewards that come from having, kids that end up being in a good place when they're grown, responsible, caring adults. So, and my income is very good right now. And, there's all kinds of possibilities available. So, I don't feel like it's hindered me at all. And I'm, by the way, I didn't mention earlier, but I'm the grandmother in the group. So, grandkids too. So.
That's great.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Well, this has been fabulous. And we, of course, have lost some folks just now. I knew we were running a little bit late, so I wanted to make sure we gave them the out. And of course, we lost some to go pick up kids and deal with kids because it is that time of the day for sure. That's one of the advantages of having the older ones, right? They can just handle themselves. At the end of the day, I'm like, were you here all day? What did you do? Good to see you. I hope you were in your virtual school. Well, Thank you all. Thank you, students, for joining in. Hopefully you learned some things along the way. Katelyn, welcome to UT Austin. If there's things we can do to help support you with kids along the way with your grad school adventure, that is quite the challenge. So please do not hesitate to reach out. And Terry and Aisha and Karen, I hope we get you some more of these as we go along.